Gospel of Mark, chapter 6, 30 to 34, and 53 to 56.
Glory to you, O Lord.
The apostles gathered around Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away to a deserted place, all by yourself, and have a rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in the boat to a deserted place by themselves. Now, many saw them going and recognized them, and they hurried there on foot from all the towns and arrived ahead of them. And he went ashore. He saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them, because they were like a sheep without shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. When they had crossed over, they came to the land to Gennesaret and moored the boat. When they got out of the boat, people at once recognized him, and they rushed about that whole region and began to bring them the sick on mats to whatever they heard there was. And he went into villages or cities or farms. They laid the sick in their marketplaces and begged him that they might touch even the fringe of his clothes. And all who touched it were healed. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Sometimes, and this is a fact for all pastors, we struggle to write sermons, and we struggle to find the words. And sometimes we struggle to shut our mouths because we just keep talking and talking and talking. Yes. That was the case for me today. I start writing my sermon, and every time that I thought that I have completed, I go and review it, and I keep writing and keep writing and keep writing. And even this morning, I keep writing. And I said, no, it's time to stop, and I put a stop to that. Because today's reading speaks about Jesus feeding the hunger, speak about Jesus trying to get some rest with his disciples, speak about Jesus healing the sick, and all of that is just about one thing and one thing only. It's about the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God. And yes, the kingdom of God means many things for many people. But the kingdom of God, it's the central message of the gospel. Feeding the hungry, it's not just a miracle about helping other people. Feeding the hungry, it's a miracle of real consequences. The real visible manifestation of the kingdom of God that is present among us here and now is the preamble of salvation. Is the living manifestation of God. It's a feast where all can eat all they want and drink and be satisfied. Our salvation in Jesus Christ is a feast that we celebrate every Sunday. It's the kingdom of God. 3 things to remember today for us followers of Christ about the kingdom of God. 3 things that we need to keep in mind every time that we speak about the kingdom of God. First one, we are called to provide for those who are in need, especially for those who are in need of food. We are called to help others. The second thing The kingdom of God is incarnated in all of us, here and now. And the third thing, the kingdom of God is the promise of a new beginning with God reigning. The kingdom of God. Three things, but for each one of three things, I can write a whole sermon of it. The first one, feeding the hungry. Not easy for me to speak. Not often I speak about this. Feeding the hungry took me back many years, 30 years ago, 35 years ago. You perhaps remember something called Somalia and the Operation Restore Hope. Well, 30-some years ago, in December of 1992, I found myself in Somalia, feeding the hungry. And I'm going to ask you one question. What is easy? Feed the hungry or make war? Think about that for a second. In 1992, we were called to feed the hungry. And I was part of the Marine Expeditionary Force in the ground in Somalia, distributing food for the hungry. And the pictures were not pretty, I can tell you that. At the time, Somalia was a failed state. The government has collapsed, and the warlord controlled the country. And we decided that we will take the food from point A to point B and distribute it. That was our mission. But real soon, the warlord understood that make war was easier than feed the hungry, especially when feeding the hungry turned into a tool of war. And we found ourselves in the middle of a war. Many ugly things happen, many beautiful things happen. War has that quality to bring the best and the worst of people. And in doing so, I felt that I was doing God's calling, helping to feed the hungry. But in doing that, two of my friends got wounded. Some other died. And after that, many others died. Because what was a mission of feeding the hungry became a war. Very ugly war. Here in St. Mark's, we feed the hungry. Last Sunday, we had our community meal. And thanks God, we did it, and we do it every month without having to answer the question, what's easier, feed the hungry or make war? Well, we make war against hunger, and we feed the hungry. The second point, the kingdom of God is incarnated in us, is present here and now. The Bible tells us that God is near. God is near because God is here. God has no other hands, no other feet, no other eyes than yours. We are the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is a way of living. The kingdom of God is us doing what God is calling us to do. The kingdom of God is being present for those who are in need. The kingdom of God is being part of God here and now. The gospel challenges us and tell us, for I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. In need, I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me. And the third point is that we live in an expectation, and an expectation of an upcoming kingdom of God. An expectation that we call, on the Sunday word, a parousia, the second coming of Jesus. The expectation that God will come and establish the kingdom of God on earth. Be careful with that one, because we are on election year. And on election years, people claim and proclaim to be that kingdom. Both political parties, Democrat